Yo YouTube! This is a video for Tuesday the 16th of April, which is today. I'm on my way home after another tough day working off the CX. So let me tell you about it. Won't be very long, there's not a lot to say about today. So I woke up this morning. I thought I would lie in, because I was up till midnight last night looking for jobs at my tramping site. I thought I'd just lie in until I felt I was able to get up, and that was around about 8 o'clock-ish. And got myself packed away and was sort of looking for jobs from about 8:30 onwards. And I was just outside of Warrington, and I was reasonably hopeful where I was I'd get a decent job. And there was quite a few jobs, but they were pinging sort of half an hour away from me. So Manchester, Liverpool, Chester, there's one with Chester. I was really hoping for something from Warrington itself. And in the end, I did get a job, and I almost didn't bid on it because, ironically, the job that I did eventually get was with the same shipper that cancelled me last night. So I almost, out of principle, didn't even bother bidding on it. But I thought beggars can't be choosers, and in this occasion, in this situation, I'm definitely the beggar. So I bid on a job going from Manchester to 3 stops, Stafford and 2 in Shrewsbury. And I've since worked out that it's a regular route that is done. I don't know whether it's weekly or daily, but it's something that is on a route. But it's the first time I'd done this particular job. So I had to go to pick up from a distribution centre, and it was car parts going to, first of all, Stafford and then Shrewsbury. There's 2 drops. And luckily the shipper did actually set up the CX correctly so that I could do the first drop off at Stafford and then do a separate drop off for my second and third drops. So it was the actual mileage. The mileage for the job was something like, I want to say 70 miles. Can't quite remember. It's for a small van, and I bid £100. It might be more miles than that. I can't remember. Let me just see if I can. No, I can't. It's on the phone. I'm recording on. So it might be more than 70 miles, but it won't be a lot more. Anyway, I think it was, I put a tenner on for each of the stops, so probably 73 miles maybe. So I arrived, so when I got the job, they asked me how far was I away from pickup, and I said how far away I was 25 minutes away. So I got the call at 9:25, made my way straight there, got there at 10 to 10. But I don't really know why he asked me, because the pickup point wasn't ready until 10:15. I was hanging around for 25 minutes until they were ready with the dirt. So there was about 5 or 6 vans all queued up, going to different areas of the country. Luckily, I did speak to one of the van drivers next to me, and he showed me that I had to go and sign in at a book, like round the corner. It wasn't obvious. You turn up there, there's no one on site to help you. So luckily the driver that was next to me helped me out. So we got signed in, went to 10:10, and then I was ready to go. So first stop was Stafford, and at this point in the day I remember thinking, yesterday's finished with, let's get on with today. Brand new day, fresh start, and no worries. And that was also, by the way, a lot of the comments that I got from my video today was along the same lines of new day, fresh start type thing. So I absolutely agree with that sentiment. It is a sort of job where if you have a bad day, the next day is always a fresh start, always a new start. And it doesn't really have an influence on the following day, unless you let it, I suppose. Which is good, which is what I like about the job. You don't come in with baggage from the previous day, usually. Unlike some jobs I've done. So I dropped off really easily at Stafford. It was really simple. And then I went to Shrewsbury. And it was about an hour and a half to Stafford, about an hour to Shrewsbury. One complication was when I went to my first stop and I gave the items that I was given. Oh yeah, one of the things that I would say about this is I wasn't given any paperwork at the pickup location, and I was just given a trolley and then put everything in a trolley in my van, and I had to just double check how do I know which bits are for which place, and actually written on there is the name of the place I was going to. So the only indication about what's going where was the label on the item itself. So there's no paperwork confirming how many items go to each of the depots. Each of the car places. So when I went to a second one, I gave them the 3 items that were labelled for that place. I had nothing left in my van. So I rang the shipper to explain the situation, and they just said, "Oh, just mark it down as nothing to deliver for the 3rd stop." So I'm assuming that there was nothing to deliver, but it seems like a really bad system. There was a piece of paper that gave me what was expected to be delivered. I could then check it off against what I actually had. But at the moment, I'm relying on the fact that I was given the right stuff in the depot warehouse. And you know how highly trained and motivated warehouse people are. They never make mistakes, do they? Anyway, it's none of my business. We between us, the warehouse people and me and the shipper, we got the job done, and I was glad to get that signed off on my app. I'm still going to block that shipper because I'm so unimpressed with them as a company. I'll wait till I get home. And ironically, most of the jobs I saw today around the Birmingham area were for that shipper when I was trying to find jobs. So I would miss out on work, but I just think it's not worth it. So I was quite hungry at this point. By the time I finished, it was 5 minutes to 1. So I then had a little break. There was a McDonald's directly opposite my last drop off. So I went to McDonald's, had loads to eat there. I sat in the restaurant, so I had a proper break rather than being in my van. And then at about 1:30ish, I'd finished, and I looked for jobs. I was looking for jobs in the meantime, but there wasn't really a lot. And I was in Shrewsbury, which is not a great place for work. So I thought I'd make my way towards Telford, which is going in the right direction. I was about 10 miles away, maybe a bit more, maybe 11 or 12 miles. And I went to Telford Services and stopped there and had a look for jobs. That was on the M54. And there wasn't a lot around today, it was quite sparse. And then I checked the other drivers, and there were 5 other drivers in Telford, as well as me, with a large wheelbase van, long wheelbase van. And there were 2 other drivers with small vans. So 8 of us in Telford. I mean, I really had no chance of winning a bid. The only other thing of note was there was a job from Telford going to London, I think it was, and I put a bid on it. And then that came up 5 times with 5 different shippers, that same job. So it's crazy. But what that would have gone for in the end, I've got no idea. But it certainly wasn't a job that I was going to win. So I decided that that wasn't working for me, staying there. So I made my way towards. I sort of had Kings Winford in mind, and I had Wolverhampton in mind as places to sort of head towards. And I thought if I could be within half an hour of either of those places, or even a bit closer. So I sort of started heading towards Wolverhampton on the M54, heading east. It was about 11 or 12 miles, and then I then I got a job offered to me as I was driving along, and it was a job going from Willenhall, which was about 15 minutes away from where I was. So this is where I was travelling. And it's going to Northampton, which was a good way towards my home. So I got a call for that at 2:45, and it was a medium wheelbase van job. I bid £65 for a 72 loaded mile job, and the reason why I went a bit lower than I usually would do. I mean, usually I think medium wheelbase van jobs are always worth £1 a mile per loaded mile, but I just been bidding on. There wasn't a lot around. Everything I was bidding on, I was not getting. So I was kind of a bit desperate. By this time it was sort of close to 3 o'clock. So I thought I had a fighting chance of getting that done in time for maybe a third job. So I made my way to Willenhall, picked up these items from the place that made them, and then I was off to Northampton. I called the shipper when I left for the following reason. When I went to the pickup point, the manufacturer said that usually they send their own drivers, and their own drivers bring back the paperwork signed for them, so they have a copy, the customer has a copy. But on this occasion, because I was a courier, they wanted to know how I was going to get the paperwork back to them. So I had a chat with the guy I was with, and I said, well, there's a couple of ways we can do it. How do you want me to do it? And he said, well, you could leave the paperwork at the drop-off point, and next time we're there, we'll collect it. Or I suggested I could post it to you directly, or I could post it to the shipper. So when I left the site, I rang the shipper and just said, the customer is very keen that they get the paperwork. How would you like me to do that? And we agreed in the end that I would upload a clear photograph of the paper copy that was signed, and he would check with the customer whether that was fine. The shipper would check with the customer that was fine. So that's telephone call number 1. Telephone call number 2 was about half an hour later, and I was stuck in congestion on the M6, and it was a very long tailback. My initial Google Maps expectation was going to be about 5 to 5. By the time I was in this M6 congestion, it was more like 5:15 was my expected time of arrival. So I did ring just to try and get the shipper to check if it would be open when I arrived. I said I'll probably be there at this rate about 5:30. And it's really frustrating because it just took you over the 5 o'clock limit, and I thought maybe that might make a difference. By the time I'd rung half an hour later, I had received a call for a job for tomorrow. So I do have to be home tomorrow with an empty van. I've got to pick up in the morning from Grantham. So the shipper was sort of reassured me that they were open till 7:20. I thought it was a strange time to be open till, but fair enough, I took it at face value what he said. Then I carried on my way to the place I was going to in Northampton. Now I have been to this place before, So I went to there's two gates. The first time I went into the gate which says deliveries. There's also the gate for reception. And it says go to reception when you arrive. So the first time I went, I did that, and there was someone there, and I delivered my items into reception. These items were a bit bigger, but they could have gone to the same place. Anyway, when I arrived at this gate, it was closed and there's no one to let me in. Luckily, a car came behind me and gave me his fob and let me in through the gates. Well, I thought it was lucky because then I got on site. But then when I went round, I could see reception was closed. So I followed the signs round to Goods Inn. That was closed. There was no one around. There was no obvious sign of a button to press to get someone's attention. So I went back round to the Vista car park, parked up, walked around the building to where I had delivered the first time. There was nobody there. The lights were on, but there was nobody there. At this point, I came back to my van and I found someone walking in. I explained the situation, and he said he'd go in and find someone for me and asked me to wait there. So I arrived on site at 3:25. At 3:45, I rang the shipper because this guy hadn't come back, and I was waiting there. Also, it's really raining now. It's really miserable. So I rang the shipper to say, have you got a contact number for the person I'm delivering to? Because there's no one here, and I've seen a guy, but he's gone off, he's left me. And so the shipper said he would try and find a number and a name. And then, as I was talking to him, another person walked towards the warehouse a bit. So I sort of got his attention and asked if he could help me. At first, he was really not very keen to help me. He wanted to just get off onto a shift. But he told me to come with him, and he asked me for the name of the person I was delivering to. I had the paperwork with me, and the paperwork had no name or number on it at all. Just had the address of the company and a single line showing what I had. And it wasn't obvious. It wasn't obvious what I had. It wasn't a palletised item. It wasn't a box. It was a template for like cutting out, packaging. It's two big boards. Anyway, hard thing to describe, so I just showed him. So I showed the first guy, and he said, I'll go get someone for you. Then we came back, and I told the second guy, and he said, come with me. So I went into the factory with him, up some stairs, across a bridge, right into some offices. I went to the office, there's no one there. So he said, cool, can you wait here, and I'll go and find the site manager. So I did that, and he didn't come back either. I was there 20 minutes later, thinking, well, what to do now? I'm completely stuck here. Now I'm inside the factory, and it was just so frustrating. So I called the shipper again, saying, please, do you have a name of somebody that I need to call? I need to get hold of. And he told me the name of somebody. So I told luckily at this point, a lady came out of the office, and I looked, and I said, please help me, I'm trying to deliver something. It's for someone called Kane. I didn't have Kane was a surname like Mr. Kane, or first name as in Kane something. Anyway, she knew who it was. So I followed her out, I went back to reception. There happened to be a door open. It shouldn't have been open. We found an exit door open. And so she took me inside the reception area and said, if you leave them items here out of the way, then we'll deal with it in the morning. So I got some paperwork, went back out to my van, put my gloves on, and just as I did that, a guy came around in a car and said, you can't deliver that here. And actually he was not Kane, but he knew of the items. And I said, he explained to me where to go. So he said, I'll come with you in the van. And as it turned out, I should have gone to the other gate, not the one that said goods in, but another gate. And that gate opens automatically. and then in that gate there's a labelled area for the things that I had. Not that I would have known that without being told it, because it wasn't obvious what things were called. They were called forms, but I didn't know that. And then there was an area right at the end of the gate, forms and something else, forms and plastic or something. It was a big label. So between me and the guy who was now in my van, we got the load offloaded in the docking bay, and then I was able to get off site. But once I got off site, it was 6:15. So I'd been there for 50 minutes faffing about, trying to get this stuff offloaded. And again, the shipper was, nice enough, but wasn't particularly helpful. He had a name and a number, and he was calling and leaving messages and leaving emails, but he wasn't actually getting through to anyone. So anyway, I can't. It's all a bit messed up anyway, and I asked him for some money. I wasn't going to argue. He said, "I'll give you a tenner," so that's fine. And then he put a tenner on the job. I think it's way under, considering the amount of effort I went to resolve it. There was a shed area open across the yard from reception. I could have just left stuff there and buggered off, but it would have been the wrong thing to have done. I would have felt bad about it, guilty about it. So I'd rather, in the end, have hung around, eventually got the right place and the right person involved, and just buggered off, leaving it in some unknown place. But it was tempting. So in the end, it was £75 for that job, 75. But by the time I'd finished and came out off site, it was quite late. I was quite tired. I just wanted to go home. So I came out of Northampton. I popped into Kettering to get some diesel. So I've now got an up-to-date diesel price for this week. It's a bit more expensive than I thought it was going to be. Don't know why. I think it'll average out over time. But I've got some stats for today. And it wasn't a good day again. To 2 CX jobs. Both quite in their own way difficult. I've had quite a few difficult jobs recently. I think it's just random, isn't it? We get easy, difficult ones. Anyway, stats. 17.1 pence per mile is my fuel costs. I've driven today, by the time I get home, £262. 262 miles. 262. I worked for 11 hours and earned £175. That's £100 this morning from Manchester to Stafford and Shrewsbury, and then £75 to go from what's it called? By Wolverhampton, place I said before, going to Northampton. So 175 gross. I spent £44.80 on fuel today, and that means I've earned out of fuel £130 exactly, 130. So not a good day again in terms of earnings. Quite a stressful afternoon, I must say. Finding a job, undertaking that job in the rain, and finding someone, and people helping you but not really helping you in the end, just leaving you there waiting. So I want to get home now. I'm on the way home now. I want to get a bath, get a nice rest, and then tomorrow's another day. I'm going to finish off this video with a couple of little-ish things because they're on my mind. The first thing is, I was thinking today, why do I bother saying all the stuff about what's in my head on these videos? And I came up with an answer, and it's my ideal audience. I've worked out who my ideal audience is. And I have this fantasy that there is groups of people that all watch this or listen to this video who know each other, who then chat about it. You know, if I bring up something about, I don't know, courier driving or, you know, mental health or something, hopefully in my fantasy mind it inspires conversation among people about these things. So that's why I do it, in the hope that it does kind of raise in people's minds issues that either they deal with or think are important, or whether people around them, their friends or family, deal with and think are important. And I think it's hopefully, in an ideal world, a source of collaboration among people that don't actually meet each other. We sort of share our thoughts and values, and then that becomes a conversation in real life. Whether it ever happens, I don't know, but that's my fantasy view of why I do this. And on that note, I want to talk to you about emotions. Oh, there's people in the road. Am I meant to not go down here? Oh yeah, I'm allowed to. And I've got a view about emotions that I want to share and hopefully spark some sort of conversation with people. And it's my theory, I suppose, on what emotions are for. So hopefully I can do it justice and explain what it's about. So I believe that when a person experiences a negative emotion, let's say fear or anger, frustration, anxiety, there's probably a few more that I've forgotten about. So when someone experiences those emotions, number one, first thing to realise, we don't control whether we feel them or not. You can't turn on and off your emotions, not genuine emotions. They just arise in you from somewhere. So we shouldn't be ashamed of our emotions because we don't control them. We have nothing, you know, we have no control over them. Just repeat myself. But what I think emotions are is a way for our subconscious mind to communicate something with our conscious mind. It's just that it's not in a language that our conscious mind really understands readily. So if I think about my negative emotions in those ways, there's 2 points that I want to say. The first thing is, if I experience a negative emotion, then it's usually caused by some external event. It could be somebody or something happening to me or talking to me. Now, it's not the fault of the person or the event or the thing that's triggered the emotion. When it comes to a negative emotion happening in me, it's something my body is doing to tell me something, and it's just triggered by something in the external world. So there's no point in me blaming another person for me feeling a negative emotion. That to me seems completely pointless, because it's not their fault that I'm feeling it. Fault's even the wrong word, because fault would imply something wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with having a negative emotion. So I think it's something that you have to be mindful about, is not to feel that your negative emotions that one feels is someone else's problem. It's not. It's your own problem, your own issue to deal with. And if somebody says something that causes you pain or negativity, then usually it's something to be addressed internally, not from what they've said. Now, I suppose there's situations where someone could be deliberately trying to piss you off, but then you've got a choice to ignore those people. And if you don't choose to ignore them, then that's your own decision, isn't it? It's a bit like social media, I suppose. You can choose to ignore people who are negative, or you can choose to engage with them, but that's your choice. Anyway, the second point I want to make about negative emotions is, so because it's something that's triggered by another person, and I'm not blaming them for it, I've then got to think about, well, why do I feel that anxiety or that fear or that frustration? And that's the key thing, I think, is if I can get better at working out what has caused me to have the negative emotion, not the thing that happened, but why inside of me. That's a way in which I can try and heal or learn from the message. And when I said in my last video that I felt powerless, I thought about that today, and I thought, why does feeling powerless make me feel frustrated, and why does it give me a negative emotion? And I haven't got a full answer, but I suspect, I'm gonna guess that I know the answer, and I think it's got something to do with being bullied. And I suspect that my previous experiences of being bullied, which weren't necessarily a lot, but it was at a particular youngish age, I think that is where that frustration comes from, being powerless. Because I think when you're being bullied, you do feel powerless. And even as an adult, I was bullied as an adult for a period of time, and I felt powerless. And so any situation that makes me feel powerless, i.e. I've got waiting time that I'm not being paid for by a shipper, I find that frustrating, and that frustration in my subconscious, I think, reminds me of being bullied, when I was younger. So I think that that's the root cause of why I got a particularly negative emotion from that event. So it's not the fault of the shipper that isn't giving me some money. I want to try and make it clear in this video that me sharing what happened to me yesterday with you guys, it's just normal. It's what I do now, but it's not normal for everyone. But I do it because I try and analyse, well, not just the event. I can easily analyse, why does an event upset me? That's really easy. But it's not so easy to work out, but why inside of me does it hurt? And that's where the real important learning is. So I think that powerlessness, feelings of powerlessness are kind of from mixed up in sort of the early childhood issues that I've not dealt with, obviously. So now I need to deal with those sort of issues of powerlessness. And my thinking is, if I can, through therapy, get through and heal those issues I have with feeling powerless, I suspect that in the future, next time I get put in a situation where I feel that I'm being put upon, I won't get that negative response because it's healed. I hope that makes some sense. It makes perfect sense to me. I have spoken in the past about talking therapy as being important, but I was hoping to use that as an example of why it's important and what it can do. It can basically start to heal those events, those traumas that cause or trigger negative emotions in people. So I think that is a more rounded approach to my experiences from last night and then my analysis from today. Thank you for listening to my video, and I shall see you tomorrow. Farewell, friends.